Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fierce Honest Hearts. I am Heidi Ferguson, and next to me is Fidista Ramsey. And we are celebrating our 100th episode, and we're very excited.
Woo!
So we're raising a glass of seltzer and mushroom tea, taking a sip, cha-ching. And really reveling in that and taking it in and considering what that means. Like, what does it really mean to be committed to something in the way that we've both been committed? And so I think I want to start there. Is that okay if I start talking about commitment? Because I think this is really important. So from a very young age, because I've had, I grew up with role models who were, once they committed to something, they were committed to it 100%. And that's how I grew up. It's all that I know. And I won't commit to something unless I know that I can be all in on it. And so what I've learned, I will say I've learned the hard way over the years, is that when other people say that they're committed to something, they might have a very different definition of what that means or looks like to them. And so what I've learned to do is ask more questions. Instead of assuming that they are committed the way that I'm committed, ask them what that really means, because it saves me from being disappointed. It saves me from making assumptions. I can have a lot more grace and a lot more room knowing the backstory, having some context into what their definition of commitment is. And the other piece that shows up for me is trust in the commitment. When someone really shows up and is committed, I feel it up levels the trust, and for both myself and the other party, and in this case it's you. And so I feel more relaxed. I feel like I can drop my shoulders a little bit, because I know that together I'm never doing this alone. I'm never in this alone. It doesn't feel like that in any way, shape, or form. And so knowing that you're in it with me 100%, I'm like, God, it would be too hard. And I wouldn't want to do it alone. It's so much more fun having someone in my sidecar. Oh God, it feels good to laugh. But someone in my sidecar, or if I'm in their sidecar, riding shotgun and saying, let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I so value what you're sharing. I'm resonating with it, the commitment. I think as someone who's been a musician, I know what craft takes, and I know what commitment and discipline, like what is required for something to have integrity. And then the commitment between us feels really sweet.
Yeah.
I know you have my back. I do my best to have your back. We also have our own backs. And that's a huge quality of it for me. And then just, when you said the 100th, like a few weeks ago, I was like, something swelled up in me. It's almost like when you're in awe or I was marveling at, yes, it looks like it went like this and whoa, we're at our 100th. And at the same time, I know every call, every check-in, every text, every email that has been associated with getting here. And it feels honest and true that things of value, things that matter, will take time and nurturing.
Sure.
So it all just it feels in alignment with how nature works. Seeds are planted and tended to and watered and sunned and good soil, and things grow, just like those poppies behind you.
Yeah.
Things grow, but we have to be farmers.
Yeah.
And we have been, and that feels like the sweetest part of all of this to me is we've really been farmers together. And by farmers, I mean just really responsible friends, conscious friends throughout this.
Yeah.
And then we've gotten to meet some of the coolest people on the planet.
I know it.
So I thought even before our check-ins, or I haven't really thought this through, like just naming some of the joyful connections we've been able to bring through our discipline and our commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first person that comes to mind is Lindsay.
Yes.
I mean, she is such a solid type of woman, but guest. And when we've had a last minute thought, and we're like, hey, let's see. And she's available. It's so great. And she really shows up in her true self.
So fully modeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think of when you say that, I immediately think like if our sidecar had a sidecar. Right? It's like if I
Yeah.
almost felt like who's the third person within this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I think of Lindsay because yeah, she's and Lindsay, when you watch this, just know we just love you and that you bring such a sweet twist to things and your own like perspective and I don't know, when people have really special energy and they share it,
Yeah.
I feel really blessed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramona
Mm-hmm.
and the energy that she brings in her culture, in her background, and the things that she's working on and sharing. I wouldn't say she shared the entire arc of her journey, but a lot of that arc she has shared. And it's so rich. And there's a part of me that feels like I'm learning along with her in her journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels, I don't even know that I have the words for it. It's just, yeah. Yeah, it feels really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will add Lucy into this because I think having followed her for a while, I really appreciated what to me felt provocative, but also very inviting in her way and her sharings. And then like was one of the guests I was like, I want to learn from this person. You know, like I think the best transmission someone can give us is to inspire us to want to move in that direction.
Mhm.
And that felt edgy for me to be like, we don't know where this conversation's going to go. And it went to beautiful, beautiful places.
Yeah. 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 And, Lucy, in the work that she does as a sexual educator, if you will, of women, empowering. And I remember before that podcast, I was feeling a little nervous because I was like, where is this going to go?
Right. We're having a pleasure expert come on and like, how edgy is it going to be?
Right. And it ended up being this really organic, as it always is. Like our conversations are always really easy and organic. And I was enlightened by her journey, by her sharing. And I was like, wow, she's like, I knew that she was deep, but she was really solid and really got in there. And I loved that about her energy. Yeah. Yeah.
We were also just talking about like
Mhm.
Patrice and Becca and their journey as parents, as in the LGBTQ community, alongside just the human journey. And how nice, I think, was that our first couple?
That was our first couple.
How nice it was to see a couple interacting
Yeah.
with us, which was different than all of our.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
And
don't
so
want to,
many more. Like I'm just, it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to miss anyone. And I'm also trying
Right.
not to be rigid
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Well, I do want to mention Diego because he was our first
Our
male
male.
guest.
Yeah.
And I have to say, he really brought it,
Mhm.
and he shared in a really very real and vulnerable way. And I revel in that. I love that. I know that you love that too. And so and all of our guests have, but I would say for a male, I don't know that that's necessarily second nature to them. I think
Mhm.
it is probably for some. And he seemed to be very comfortable talking about, whatever he was talking about. Um, and I remember then after, I don't know if it was actually recorded or before I stopped recording, but he was so grateful to have this really meaningful conversation. And I was so touched. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not every day that people talk like this and have such depth and meaning to what they're sharing and exchanging.
Mhm. And we crave it. I'm not going to say everyone craves it, but those of us who, let's say, gather around this, you know, podcast, we crave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel I remember feeling not intimidated. It's that excited, nervous place, like our first male guest. And then
Yeah.
we had Peter recently, and we're going to have Sacred Sons, Angelo, next week. And it's
Yeah.
like here we are beginning to integrate the masculine into the conversation, which feels really good to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Gosh, such great guests. Maybe we'll do some like best of
Yeah.
montage at some point and just have like, I don't know, like little snippets from each of our guests. Really fun,
Oh,
like a
yeah.
fun little flavor of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Hmm.
that. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone just for being here, for watching, for being a guest. If we didn't mention you, that doesn't mean you're not on our hearts here. Yeah, thank you for bringing it and allowing us to see you, allowing us to feel seen, like all of that yumminess. Yeah. Shall we pivot to check ins?
Let's pivot.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to start?
Sure, if you'd like. Yeah,
Or unless you want to. I'm
I
okay with
could.
whatever.
I could. Okay. Yeah, I'll do it. So it's snowing here, which is just so delightful. It's been like pitter patter snow throughout the day. Nothing sticking. That's okay. It's just this beautiful. I'm finding for me in this time of winter, I need a lot of beauty to sustain me. Not altogether a bad thing, but when it's gloomy and gray outside, like I need colors, I need the sacredness of beauty, right? There's the kind of beauty that's kind of vapid, and there's the kind of beauty that like feeds the soul.
Mm.
The color of like the amaryllis, it's very similar to those poppy colors in the house, and um, this reminder of my resources,
Mm.
because I find like mid-February to mid-April more challenging. Um, Not because I get depressed, but because I want to get the hell outside and be kayaking and stuff I can't do yet. So the yang energy is rising in me and it doesn't quite have somewhere to go, unless I'm indoors and exercising, right? So working through that. And then I heard a great IG live today by two coaches, female coaches, successful business coaches, who they talked about 1 month sabbaticals. Okay. Yeah. Got on my radar right quick. And they both shared not only what that 1 month sabbatical looked like, but how they had to prepare for it almost a year ahead, right? First, deservability. Do I deserve a month off? Can I take it financially? What would I have to do with my systems, my programs for it to be doing well without me for a month? I'm talking like a month off the grid, right? Uh, One that resonated with me was like the little bit of people pleaser that's like, what will my clients think? Will I be seen as an inadequate coach if I take that time off? Will I be dropping them? Right. if I take that time off. Um, and then planning to take that time off. And I just got lit up. This was before our call. I was just so lit up thinking, could I next February take a month off and be like swimming in lagoons in the south of France and still working on my business, right? Like leaving all that white space for creative ideas to come up. And the thing the woman said, one of them, she said, God, there's so many good things, but I want to keep it short. We watched our mothers work so hard and not rest. So being mindful that that's an inheritance we've had. And that we're also having to work at chipping away the patriarchy that tells us we're only worthy when we're productive, right? And then we have to trust that in that quiet space of being where nothing seems to be happening, that something's actually happening. And we're not going to know until if and when it happens. So there's a big trust walk there, right? And I'm just really floored by this idea. It feels like my whole body got enlivened. I felt really lit up listening to them as people who have done it. And then this idea that each of them, when they've set that time aside, they've had evolutionary leaps in their business. They've had ideas for, retreats or packages, and it's looked different for each of them, but that rest was so sacred for the next evolution of their business or what they could stand for. And I want some of that. So, I mean, that's my check-in because it just happened, but I was like, damn, I want to be like, I want to, two things. I want to do that for myself because I know in doing that, I get to impact and help better the world exponentially. That's my sense. That's my like intuitive sense. And I want to be the kind of woman who models swimming in lagoons in the south of France while having a profitable business because I know the people around me want me to win, right? My clients want me to win. They don't want me burned out and stressing. So it's such a paradigm shift. And it's one I'm really lit up about. When she said, give it a year to plan, I thought, cool, because I would really like to be somewhere hot about this time next year. There's also a lot of love in that for myself. Be like, what if, just what if I got to be somewhere hot in my bathing suit, eating branzini and swimming for a month? Like, do we as women gift ourselves with that? Right? How can I gift myself something that seems so out of the box for me? Having grown up with parents who worked really hard, maybe held 2 or 3 jobs, right? It feels like such a paradigm shift. And I'm for it. So that's my check-in because I'm just like, what? What is this world where people do this and how do I sign up? And hearing them each give a roadmap of what it looked like for them. Right? Because she wasn't like, oh, just plan it and book the Airbnb. She was like, you're going to have to work through whether you deserve it or not, and your people pleasing, and your systems, and your what will people thinks. And so curious how that lands for you.
So many thoughts. First of all, I love how not only you're saying that you're lit up by it, but I can see it in your face and your energy and across the screen. And so I'm really feeling that in you, the truth of that. and how actually we all deserve that.
Yes.
And recognizing that we deserve that. And the processes that are important, and whether or not we realize that there needs to be a process to get to that point, but there is. And everyone's going to have whatever that process is. It's going to be different for everybody, because I mean, I'm imagining myself, and I think, wow, because I love that you're naming it, but in my truest self, I can't imagine that for myself. Maybe 6 months from now, I could, I might have, but right now I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with that. It feels so, even though I know it's not impossible, it feels that way. It feels really big. It also feels really expansive, right? Because you talked about, even in the white space, there are so many opportunities to be creative and to mull around ideas, and to maybe, bring more things into fruition, and make things happen in that white space. Because even when we're not working, we're working. We just are. It's what entrepreneurs do. And I think everybody does that in a sense. So maybe in a month I'll feel a little bit differently and I'll have a little more ease around that, and I won't think it's impossible, but it feels really big right now, and expansive. And yeah, and I feel excited. I feel excited about it too. And then the other piece I wanted to just comment on about this time of year, between now, which is the middle of February, until 8 weeks from now, which will take us to the middle of April. And we've touched on this a little bit with the seasonal affect. And I think I've shared a couple of weeks ago how gray it has been. This winter has been a very gray winter with a lot of rain, because we have not had snow. We've had a lot of rain, but we haven't had snow. And so I'm sharing this for our listeners who might be struggling with that. Just notice that it might be going on, like Fidesta mentioned. Notice that it might be going on, and then ask yourself what could change the course, or what could you bring into your life that might change this, even for an hour, so that it looks different, so that it feels different, so that it resonates different in your body. And the one thing that we always say is reach out. Don't even attempt to do this alone. At least if you don't have someone to talk to, at least write it out. Talk, in whatever words you need to. Talk in the way that you need to share this, so that it at least gets out of your body. Because sitting alone with it is just, it's too hard. It's too painful. And there are resources. There are resources. So my check-in, let's see. So I just spent the earlier part of the afternoon with some Drexel students, which I love to do. And it's always, I'm educated in that same space as well, like as they're learning and they're asking me questions, I learn just as much from them in the exchange. And I love that. And we were the standardized patients, when we were being trained for the case, we were told we would not be providing feedback. And I thought, and I'm like, okay, all right, we won't be giving feedback. But as I am presenting the case, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's so much, it's just so rich here, and there's so much to be learning. And I have feedback to give, but I realize I'm not allowed to. So that's the first time I think we've ever not given feedback. So it was a little challenging. And I pretty much let it go, but it's also stirring a little bit. because as we both know, feedback is just, it has an impact and it's important and we can all learn from it. What else do I want to share? Let's see. So this is not about me, but I just need to say this. So I've shared that my nephew plays for Marquette. They won their game last night. They are solidified to be number one in the Big East. And I can't tell you how I'm pleased and I'm thrilled and I'm really proud of not only him, but the team as they really worked hard together to get to this spot, because literally it is a game at a time. It's a minute, it's a point, it's a rebound at a time. And the fact that they've gotten to where they are, and I think there are 4 more games in the season, and then they go to Madison Square and have their Big East tournament. And yeah, the way they hold themselves as a team, and the trust that is built in that, and the coach, second to none. And I'm just really, really tickled and enjoying all the moments. So yeah, that's my check-in.
Oh, I feel your love and care for your nephew, and also, I cannot imagine as an auntie who's been at those games, like not being emotionally invested in his joy and in his success, right? That just feels so loving to me.
Mm,
And I'm kind of going, Madison Square Garden. I wonder if Heidi would come out here and we could grab tickets and go to the game. And, just that part of me that's like, how do I see you and how do we have some fun? So just noticing, I guess, my desire to like see you.
yeah.
I know we do this every week and we check in on our sort of our private call every week. But I'm really feeling, and it might be the season too, right? But like I actually want to see you in person. So
Me
I'm just planting that seed because you're not that far.
Not that far. No. No.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Some shenanigans, please.
Okay.
I'd like to order some shenanigans with you. Not mayhem, just some shenanigans.
Just a little shenanigans.
Yeah.
It can go a long way, right? Just a little bit fun
My
goes a
gosh.
long way. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to add something to the seasonal affect thing because
Yeah.
feel like this could be my perception that a lot of people think it's only for those who are like depressed or anxious,
Hmm.
which I think is a huge part of it, right? And the holidays don't do much good because they're forcing people to hustle and be happy when they're already having a tough time, and it's like you're having to go against yourself. And this time of year I see a lot of people expressing loneliness, right? It's like after the wave of the holidays and festivities are over, there's this void, right? Where we can hopefully befriend ourselves. And if that's hard, like at least reaching out,
Hmm.
having someone see you. And my point of saying all of this is that the way I experience, I don't even know if it's seasonal affect disorder, I just know what it feels like in my body, is like wanting to chew on the corner of the table. Like I have all this spring energy and it's not spring yet.
Hmm.
And so if you're feeling that, right? Because the earth right now is, at least the northern hemisphere, starting to warm up. The sap is starting to rise in the trees mid-February, maybe earlier because we had such a mild winter, right? Things are starting to germinate and get going underneath. I guess germinate's not the right word, but like seeds are starting to crack. Daffodils are preparing,
Hmm.
right? The crocus is coming out, the snowdrops are starting to come out. All that to say if you are feeling more of this like rise of yang energy, this agitated, activated, wanting to mobilize energy, that too is a normal part of transitioning out of winter.
Mhm,
Um, and I'm finding for me, it's about a lot more movement than I normally
mhm,
do in midwinter.
mhm.
A lot more warrior working out so that I'm not left chewing on the corner of the table, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, this just wants to move. This wants to
Mhm,
get out. In
mhm.
case that serves anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, for me, what happens is, and I will say, I feel like my anxiety took over everything, earlier, and so whether or not I experienced seasonal affect, I'm not really sure. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if I did, because it's something that kind of comes up every year. And what I do know is that in the past, when I've had, because I don't experience depression all the time, but when I have, and then it's in the season, this time of year is when I typically, experience seasonal affect, my depression gets deeper. And that's how I know. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is seasonal affect. So I have some depression, and it feels harder. It feels deeper. It feels deeper in my body. That's the seasonal. It almost like I feel like a hat is put, like a cap is put on it, if you will, just to kind of solidify it. I'm like, oh, that's a seasonal effect. Okay. So I know that I need to get, I need to feel the sunshine on my face. Even though it's freezing, freezing cold out, some days I need to get I need to breathe in the fresh air. Or if it's just a matter of opening my window, and letting some cold air in, just some movement, like you said, um, is always helpful. And so what's the reason one of the reasons I'm mentioning is because I may not notice it until I'm like, oh, there it is again. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know that I'm not the only one in the world that experiences it this way. So in the event that you have experienced this and you aren't sure what's happening, that is what could be happening. That could be, seasonal affect, because the winter season is long. And when there's gray day after gray day and a lot of rain, especially here on the East Coast, it can get really challenging. And so naming it, not ignoring it, paying attention to what your need, what my needs are, what your needs are, whatever they are, is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we can share our resources, but you've got to test it out against,
Yeah.
your own experience and how your body's feedback is. I know for me, something that has completely changed or supported me has been having like the little at-home sauna,
Mm.
right? It's like the little $99, your neck sticking out, but your body's getting like 150-degree heat.
Mhm.
Um, that inner warmth, that inner heat for me is helpful. And it's circulatory and it's detoxifying because sometimes we're not sweating in the winter and then we're not detoxing and then we
Right.
feel funky. And it's like, yeah, of course,
Right.
you're not sweating the way you would in the summer. And um, there's a backlog.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm naming this as like sometimes you can come at it from a physical angle, like a
Mhm.
sauna or a good sweat. Sometimes you can come at it from a mental angle of meditation. Sometimes you can come at it from a relational angle of like, I'm just going to see some people I love and get those good chemicals flowing.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think sometimes it's about deepening the relationship with self in that void of time,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
remember taking a walk in Central Park, and this naturalist guy was telling us in the fall that the color of the leaves is actually their true color in the fall because they're not so full up of chlorophyll from the sun that you're actually seeing their true colors.
Ah,
And I think of that with us as humans. The fall to winter might be our true not our true colors, like that's who we are, but things we haven't addressed and looked at.
right.
Because in the summer sun and all that chlorophyll and all that green, we're like, ding, I get to do all this fun stuff in the sun. We're all kind of distracted
Yeah.
from the work,
Mhm,
right? So just trusting the feedback
mhm,
feels important to me.
mhm.
Trusting the heartache, trusting the loneliness,
Yeah.
trusting the desires,
Yeah.
mm, making room for them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about not ignoring, some of the feelings that might be coming up for people. And it's so fascinating because in this case that I just did this afternoon, this was a woman who has had 2 pretty traumatic events in her younger life and has never really dealt with them. Hasn't processed, hasn't dealt. One
This
of
was
my
your character?
This was my character that I
Okay.
played today. One of the incidents happened when she was 10, and the other one happened about 12 years later, and she's now my age, so close to 60. And and I just thought to myself, wow, what would it be like to really be that person? And as I was responding to their questions and sharing more and opening up a little bit, I really felt the I really felt the challenges of this person, of her, like the emotional challenges, and how deeply not how deeply disturbing it felt to me to not take the opportunity to not care for oneself and to put it aside because it was too hard. Because that's the story, that's the backstory. The reason she has these traumatic events and hasn't dealt, because she put them on the back burner because they were too hard. And then she got married and she had kids and life got busy and she taught, like, which I think happens probably to a lot of people.
I was
And
gonna say,
so
it sounds like a common
yes, it's a very common thread. And so when these emotions do show up, I really do get that they can be hard and we want to push them away. And what I know to be true is that the longer we push them away and make the choice to not deal or not handle or not process and work through that, the harder it's going to be. It just is. And so because more and more stuff, it gets layered, those things get layered and they get more, it takes more time to get through them, to process through them. And yeah, so I feel for those who are challenged by that. I really do have a lot of compassion, and know that also this is going to come up time and time again in one way or another. It may not be direct and you may not think, oh, I know what that's related to, but until we deal with our stuff head on, direct, it's going to come up time and time again until we've healed it. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you for that. And I also want to just piggyback on that with why this matters relationally, right? Often people, it surprises me a lot, but I also get it. Think, well, it's my stuff. And if I don't deal with it, that's my problem and my choice. And to some extent, that's true. There's impact on the people around you, particularly your high stakes relationships,
Yep.
if you don't attend to the trauma. Because the reality is, you're going to be more triggered and less able to respond and potentially more harmful and less relational. right? And this can be in a lineage. So, and it likely is for many of us,
Mhm.
right? Like we might be the first few generations who have the privilege of taking time for the existential part of life. Um, but when we choose not to do the work, and the work could be done in a myriad of ways, right? Could be therapy, it could be yoga, it could be, it's just a million ways. There's no wrong answer here. Know that it's not just impacting you. You might think it's only you that's affected, but I'm willing to assert it's not true.
Mhm.
Whether it's your children, your siblings, your colleagues, right? How you're showing up to a stranger. Um, we affect each other. And I'm not laying that on thick to be like, to add shame or
No.
blame, but I'm inviting personal responsibility here that says if I don't do the work, I am impacting others. And the post I put on our conscious friendships Instagram today is around when we don't do the work, it gets really hard because then we're not connected to ourselves and we can't really connect with others, right? So the disconnect isn't just inside, it's with others. And I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to make that very clear here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of um I'm thinking of two specific, relationships that it's clear that the work hasn't even begun or
Mm.
doesn't seem that way. And I have a huge amount of compassion, and I'm aware of how it is stunting the growth of my relationship with,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
there's impact for you.
there's huge impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm relating,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the places where I dearly love and like you have compassion for those people in my life. I'm finding my tolerance is less and less. My compassion is there. That won't change.
Yeah.
But my tolerance for the avoidance,
Yeah.
because then it's like, well, then we get to have a superficial relationship because you're superficial with yourself.
Right.
How am I going to get to know you if you don't know you?
Right.
How am I going to get to see you and learn you if you're not seeing you and learning you? It's a real impasse.
It is.
So it's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. And it's also part of being human
Yeah. Yeah.
and being
Not
relational.
everybody's growth minded. And then how do you do relationship?
Right.
I'm not saying that from a place of arrogance, just an awareness that some people I know don't think there's anything more to
Right.
learn. And I have a value there that I know I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know, but I know there's plenty I don't know.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much more that I can say, but I'm gonna, I'm not.
Part two.
Part two.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, shall we pivot to a chat pack?
Let's do it. I'm
All right.
excited.
Let me pull, where are they? I'm sorry. Let me pull
That's
them up
okay.
really quick. Um, there, okay. So, oh, this is a fun one. All right.
Okay.
What was your least favorite food as a child?
Okra. Is that yours?
It is. I have two. I have two. So first of all, I'm curious. I have a question to ask, a follow-up question, because like, what was it about okra?
I don't know. It's like this slippery, slidey, weird texture. It tasted fine, but I was like, this is not right.
Texture.
Texture.
texture. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my other one is canned peas because of the same reason. So frozen peas, as you know, like if you cook them on the stovetop, they stay relatively hard, like they're kind of, but canned peas are all.
Are those little green ones, the circly green ones?
Yeah, peas. Yeah, yeah.
I've only had them canned and I hate peas. I've never had them not from a can.
Yeah, so you can buy them frozen in the frozen section at the store. I mean, they're better fresh, of course, right? Like peas are just better fresh. But if you buy them frozen, they have a lot of uses.
It's so funny because Richard will say, "What do you think about me adding some peas to this?" And I'm like, "God, no," because I'm just thinking of that texture.
Oh no, no, no. And they're a different color. Frozen peas are even like they're a really pretty brighter green, and canned peas are this. I just think I think they're one of the most ugliest colors of
They're
shades of
so
green.
yuck. They're so yuck for me.
Oh, they're terrible.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note to try fresh peas because those would be my two things: okra and green peas.
Yeah, please. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. And then I have one more. This is a fun one too. What is your most used emoji?
I guess you would know. I'm actually thinking you might know. I think the heart of flame is my new one.
Oh, yes, that's my new one too.
That's one I really love, but I think my little kissy face,
Oh, really?
the little kiss heart face,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
a ton.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm thinking of anytime I send stuff, it's like the kiss heart, heart, heart kind of thing.
Yeah,
But that heart on fire, I'm a big fan of.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
But you.
Yeah. So it's evolved. Let me say that it's evolved. And I really like the heart that has it's like a gift wrap, like it has a yellow ribbon around it.
Mm,
I love that one. I
that's so
love that
sweet.
so much. I know. I'm like, yeah, love is a gift. Heart's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah.
Mm,
And I like the heart on fire too.
yeah.
Because that's new, I think, relatively new,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I think my old favorite was like the heart with the little sparkles. It's like when your heart sparkles.
Yeah, yeah.
That one. But I love knowing why the heart with the wrap is it's just so sweet. When you say that, I'm like, that's just the sweetest thing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love these as I don't know, a gentle off ramp, let's say. Appreciating it.
Yeah.
Thank you, friend. Happy 100th.
Happy 100. Woohoo!
We've gone from I think I used to start with old fashions and you had gin tonics.
Yes.
And now I've got, mushroom coffee and you've got lime seltzer.
Yeah.
Hence why we're not called cocktails in pajamas anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Love the evolution.
Me too. Yeah. Much more aligned with where we are. I love it.
Mhm.
Thank you to our community. Thank you for being here with us, sticking with us, hanging in. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, share, comment, and we will see you next time. Mwah. Bye, everyone.